We are live. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. I'm your host, Blake Ruffino. This is Are You Serious Sports. We hope that you guys are making it a good one. We know that we are as well. Massive show in store for you tonight as we will preview LSU versus number 3 South Carolina. A massive matchup here this weekend. Or actually, Thursday's not a weekend, but you know what I mean. Starting tomorrow, as the Tigers go up to Columbia, as they're on their way now to take on the Gamecocks. So we'll break that down. The Gamecocks are one of the hottest teams in the country right now. They're coming off a big win last night versus North Carolina as they continue to roll. They have 4 dudes that are absolutely mashing the ball, like Cole Messina, Braylon Wimmer, and Ethan Petrie, who is absolutely mashing the ball. He is number 2 in the conference behind Dylan Cruz in batting average at .439 with 13 bombs. So we'll talk about him as well. We'll give you a spring update, spring football update, some things that I'm hearing around LSU football over the last couple of days. We'll give you a D-line coaching search update and talk a little bit about that as well. Chris Phillips from the Spurs Up Show does a fantastic job. He will join us at 7:30 to talk about the South Carolina Gamecocks. Looking really forward to talking to him. You know, somebody told me the other day, LSU fan that lives in South Carolina who follows his show, said that we remind each other, or remind him that we remind him of each other or something. I don't know how to word that, but you know what I mean. But does a fantastic job with his podcast, his sourcing, and a really, really good Gamecock guy that we're going to go to here tonight. We will give a recruiting update. Is it about to rain in the Bayou? Let's talk on that. We will after Chris Phillips leaves us. We'll go around your the SEC matchups that start this weekend, and we will bump up tonight the hashtag Ask Blake. We will do that as well. We'll do that as well. So let's get to a couple of these comments before we get rolling. Shelton McBride says, how solid is SE's pitching? What about their depth? Well, last night, Eli Jones, their Thursday night starter, through the 8th inning, struck out the side against North Carolina. Going to be interesting. That's why I'm bringing on Chris to talk about it, because with them throwing Eli Jones last night, how does that mix up the pitching rotation? Now, South Carolina has had some injuries. With them having some injuries, I am interested to find that out. Delton Duce says, smash that like button. Absolutely, y'all smash that like button. Don't be a Rudy Poo. Hit the like and share. Share to all of those social media groups and social media pages. Y'all know the deal, dog. Y'all know the deal, bro. Come on now. You know the deal. Anyway. So a really good show in store for you here tonight. Let me do this. Roger Duga says, we are live. That we are. I'm going to mispronounce your name, but I'm going to try my best. I don't want to butcher your name, man. I don't want to butcher your name, but he says, keep up the good work. Thank you. I'm sorry. I'm very bad at pronouncing names. But thank you so much. Timmy Martin says, hashtag Ask Blake, is Shores going to be the game 3 starter, or is Riley Cooper? Neither. It's going to be Christian Little. So Jay Johnson to announce that the Saturday starter is going to be Christian Little. I would expect there to be I think Saturday, from a pitching standpoint, is going to look a lot like what you saw last night. And it's what we talked about last night on the show. I really think it's going to be by committee. It's exactly what LSU did a year ago. They're going to do it again. We'll talk about that here tonight. Nikki Hughes on Facebook. I met Miss Nikki at LSU's football practice a couple of weeks ago. She says, "Hey, Blake, let's go." Hello, Miss Nikki. Her son, Jeremiah Hughes, is on the LSU football team. Good to meet her. Good to meet her husband. It was good to be out of practice. It was hotter than I can't say. Way down yonder on the Chattahoochee. It gets hotter than a hoochie coochie. Jason Tabor sends us some stars via Facebook. Thank you so much, Jason, for doing that. We appreciate you doing that, our good friend. So let's do this. Let's get this thing rolling, y'all. Everybody do us a favor by hitting the like and share to all of that. So all of those social media groups, share to all of those social media pages. If you're listening to us on Facebook, guys, you are absolutely killing it for us this year. You are going to put us in a stratosphere that we have never been in. Everybody that watches on Facebook, thank you so much. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe, hit the notification bell, all of that stuff. We appreciate you joining us live here tonight. If you're listening to us on YouTube, also the same thing. Like, subscribe, notification bell, all of that good stuff. Share to Twitter, share to Facebook, share it to your mama and them. Let them know that Blake at AYS is live. If you're listening to us on the TuneIn app or you're listening to us on SiriusXM, thank you so much for joining us. Don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe or wherever you listen to podcasts. All right, let's do this. Let's talk about our good friends over at GM Varno & Sons and our good friends over at betonline.ag. Guys, we're back in 1 minute. Let's preview some South Carolina LSU. Top 3 matchup next. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way for you to wager on all of your favorite sports, contests, events with the first-to-market odds and lines. Find reviews for all the news for each league, including Major League Baseball, NFL, NBA, NHL, combat sports, college sports, esports, and even golf. BetOnline continues to be the top online resource for all of your sports information for live in-game betting, props, and futures. Head on over to BetOnline today and use your mobile device to join and make your first sports bet. Use our promo code BELIEVE50, that's BELIEVE50, BLEAV 50, to receive your 50% off welcome bonus on your first deposit. That's betonline.ag, betonline.ag. With over 65 years of experience, nobody is better equipped to service in your vehicle than GM Varno & Sons. RV repair, big rig overhauls, motor chassis, routine maintenance, tire rotations, tire sales. No job is too big or too small over at GM. If you break down the side of the road in the greater Baton Rouge area, they will come and get you. And the best thing about that is that they can come and get you, and then they can bring your vehicle back to their shop and start the repairs right then. Again, GM Varno & Sons. Go see them over at 2500 Fuller Boulevard. Give them a call at 225-664-9992. 225-664-9992. Tell them your good friend Blake Ruffino sent you on by. Tyler Townsend says, let's go. LSU baseball is the next national champion. Boy, do I hope so. Be a great run during the summer to get us into LSU football. Boy, would that be something. Boy, would that be something. Jeff on Facebook says, hashtag Ask Blake, do you insert Cade Beloso back into the lineup? I'll talk about that here tonight. Austin Greer says, and he put a couple of these together, but he says, our bullpen is not as solid as it was a year ago. Sanders is a huge question mark. Mahoney is inconsistent. Oh, their bullpen. Oh, no, I read that right. Our bullpen is not as solid as we would like right now. Sanders is a huge question mark. Mahoney is inconsistent, but should be fine. And who knows how healthy Hall is. That's very true. So we'll talk on that tonight. And he's talking about Noah Hall, their best guys. So, look, let's get this thing rolling, y'all. Let's get this thing rolling, y'all. As interesting as this may sound, guys, the Tennessee matchup last weekend was big. It was massive. It was a big thing. It was a big turning point in your program that you were able to take on Tennessee, a team that had kind of just beaten you down a little bit the last couple seasons. First year under Jay Johnson, last year under Paul Manera, you kind of got beat down by him. Emotionally, psychologically, it was a big deal that you took down Tennessee, regardless if they're having a down year. This matchup versus South Carolina, from a standpoint of rankings, from a standpoint of just overall seeding, from how do you compare against one of the best teams in college baseball, this kind of is a bigger series than last weekend. It's on the road. You go to a hostile environment. You go and play a team that's coming off an emotional high, beating one of, if not one of their bigger rivals in North Carolina. They are just a really good overall team. Ethan Petrie is hitting .439, 13 home runs and 42 RBIs. Braylon Wimmer is hitting .330, 8 home runs, 28 RBIs. Gavin Casas is hitting .308, 15 long balls and 36 RBIs. And then Cole Messina is hitting .316 with 10 home runs and 36 RBIs. Guys, their front four of their lineup is ridiculous. Combined, they are hitting .350 with 46 home runs and 142 RBI. Think about that for a minute. From a hitting standpoint, it might be a little bit like you facing LSU in that front four. Now, the question becomes, what does South Carolina do when they face arguably and what most people believe to be the number one team in the country? They've had some really good wins. They've had some really good series. They swept Mizzou. They've done some good things. I just don't know if this South Carolina team has faced an opponent like LSU. Now, Thursday night is going to be interesting because Eli Jones, their Thursday night guy, who had been pretty solid for them in that game one of an opening SEC series, he had been pretty solid. To give you an idea how solid he was, especially last night, he came into the eighth and struck out the side. Now, where does LSU really thrive in this series to me? South Carolina's only got two lefties. You've had some struggles at times with them. Will Sanders, 5.17 ERA, 37 strikeouts, 10 base on balls, 31 innings pitched. The question is, how healthy is Noah Hall? Noah Hall is maybe arguably their best arm, had 43 strikeouts, 9 base on balls in 41 innings. And then we'll see with Jack Mahoney in that third game what they can do. But they're top to bottom, guys. South Carolina is a really damn good baseball team. A really damn good baseball team. So is LSU. I think that this is going to be one of the biggest matchups that you will have maybe in the regular season from a standpoint of how much South Carolina has talent-wise, what they can do in baseball, that environment. If LSU goes on the road, if LSU can go on the road to Columbia, now I'm going to ask Chris about the weather this weekend, but if they can go on the road and take 2 out of 3 from a top 3 team, guys, you're starting to get to a situation where it's not like beating Alabama in a way. I kind of feel like Tennessee might have been like that this past weekend from an emotional and psychological standpoint. But it's like beating the next best team that you will see all year. South Carolina could be that. So as we break this down, and we'll be live post-game tomorrow night, live after the game. It's going to be really fun because I think it's just going to be that massive of a series. I just look at this team in a whole different light. I look at this team in a whole different angle. And quite honestly, I don't know what's going to happen. Now, Thursday night, Paul Skeens, I think that he shoves again. I think he's going to be locked down. That's how he's been all year. You're not going to more than likely get swept at all. Question becomes game 2 and game 3. Now, it was announced today that Christian Little will start on Sunday. And like we talked about last night, and like I'll continue to talk about, I think that Jay's going to experiment with the simple idea and simple thought that you're in a situation where you might have to rotate guys. Like Christian Little might throw 2 innings. Then Riley Cooper might come in and throw 2 innings. Griffin Harry might come in and throw 2 innings. Then the rest of the guys in the back of that bullpen, an inning. That's how I think that's going to go on Sunday. Jay did it last year. He did it last night. I think he was testing it out again last night. Now, will he tell me that? No. Will he tell anybody that? No. But Jay, since we've learned more about Jay Johnson, what has he told us? He's told us that his actions and what he tests out is always what he's going to do this upcoming weekend. I can go back last season when he did it the first time, and he started doing it on Sundays. Started off with Mikael Hilliard. Well, you remember how that started. Mikael Hilliard was your game one guy. God bless his soul. Wish the kid would be back this season. He can be a lockdown guy for game 3. But he's not. So we'll have to wait and see. We'll preview this in about another 15 minutes or so when Chris Phillips joins us from the Spurs Up podcast. But nevertheless, it is going to be one of those series where look, I don't know. I think this is because of maybe the simple scenario. Like, look, the parade's going on right now. Everybody's probably at the PMAC. There's so many things going on. Like, I get that. Okay. Maybe we're still on this high from women winning the women's national championship. And it's kind of funny that South Carolina and LSU were playing when both of those teams were in the women's Final Four. But I don't think anybody or we are talking enough about how good this South Carolina team is. And this is easily a series that you can go up there and lose 2 out of 3. Easily you could lose 2 out of 3. So I look at the landscape of all of this and ask myself the question, is this about to be the biggest matchup that we're going to have? Is South Carolina going to be the team that we look at the end of the year and say, you know what? I'm sure glad that we took 2 out of 3 from South Carolina because they're the number 2 overall seed in the country. Like, this weekend could be a tipping point either which way. I think South Carolina is going to win the East. I think that they got enough hitting and enough pitching to take down Vandy. I'm not sold on Vandy yet. I'm not sold. They've played the 3 weakest opponents in the SEC. They literally have played the 3 weakest opponents in the SEC. I need to see them go up against somebody like a Paul Skeens or somebody like or that Tennessee series is going to be massive for them. I want to see them go up against Florida. I want to see them pitch to Jack Caglione. Oh, boy, they're 8-1. Yeah, okay. Here's another interesting thing. Very interesting thing. South Carolina's 18-0 at home. 27-3 on the year. 18-0 at home. They defend their house, man. And they're sponsored by Under Armour. Click Clack. Pooh, you remember that commercial, Click Clack? Did you get some Under Armour cleats because of Click Clack? I did. I got Under Armour cleats because of it. I was like, screw Nike. And then I went back after 3 games. I'm going to be honest, man. We are a Nike house around here. At home, I mean. We are a Nike house around here. I go full booby miles. Full booby miles when it comes to Nikes. I'm going to put a smile on face when I do it. All right, I want to get to some this recruiting update, and I want to get to a D-line coaching search really quickly. I know that I did not put that in the notes. I'll get to that here in just a second. Let me get to a couple of these comments, though, before we do that. Pierce Lee says Paul Skeens starts cannot be wasted. I fully agree with Pierce here. Spot on. You can't have an Arkansas type of situation. You just can't. Now, look, Tommy Tanks is hitting. I mean, look, man, you're 1, 2, 3, and 4. When it comes to Duga, look, this is not me being homerish. I've watched a lot of college baseball this year. Literally, when we get done with the show, I'm going to watch any college baseball I can find, or the Yankees won today. They beat the Phillies. I'm going to watch anything. By the way, Aaron Nola gave up a very bad single back up the middle, and they lost. But there's nobody in the country. There is literally nobody in the country. When you had to face the top of the lineup, Duga, Morgan, Cruz, Tanks, not a better 4. And I'll be real with you. I don't know if there's a better 5, because I'm getting to a point where, for myself, I know that Jared Jones strikes out more than he should. When that dude hits balls that far and has been as hot as he's been, like we talked about the Tennessee series, we talked about the Arkansas series, and everybody's like, well, he struck out too much. Well, he also walked 4 times in that series. Yes. Okay, sounds good. High five. Go play. Close Dave's door. Tell Pooh hey. Did you hear him? All right. Close the door. Bye. Love you. All right. My son Ben. Nevertheless, you there's no team in the country that has a better 5 of Duga, Morgan, Cruz, Tanks, and Jones. There just isn't. And what's going to happen when Morgan starts hitting better? I mean, hell, he was on fire this weekend. We'll see. Stephen Frost is anxious to see if Jay looks Gavin Gidgey's direction. He talked about that, and he is. He says a little bit more moving forward. We talked about that too last night, but he did say that. He had a great presence on the hill, and he has above-average stuff. Stephen, that slider is sick. It's nasty. It's legitimately nasty. I'm a Gavin Guidry fan, man. It will be interesting to see if he gets some work this weekend in the SEC. I would love for him to. I would love for LSU to be up some runs and give him some work and pull him if you need to. But we'll see. Let me transition really quickly because we got about 6 minutes before Chris joins us. Quick recruiting update. I told you last week on this show and on our message board, AYSSnetwork.com, $7 a month, go subscribe. LSU was in line for some really good dudes. Now, Dom McKinley out in Acadiana, I don't know if he's going to commit until you get a D-line coach, which I'll get to in just a second. But, man, Deshaun McBride from Denham Springs, you know how high I am on that kid. Charleston Collins, I did a full write-up on Charleston Collins. You can go read it. I think that he's really good. Wardell Mack is another guy that we talked about religiously. Tylen Singleton, another dude. And Trey-Dez Green. I think that we broke the Trey-Dez Green story. Guys, this is what I'm learning about this 2024 class. Brian Kelly is one of the more patient human beings that you will ever meet in your life. And he's aggressively patient. All I'm going to tell you is this. I've been telling you this all off season. Get ready. A storm is coming. Now, you got to have patience. But it's coming. I think LSU is going to be a number 3 overall class. I think they can get in the top 3 with the guys that they're going to land. By the way, I didn't talk about Colin Simmons, which I think in the direction that you're trying to go defensively and on the defensive line, you could really pull him off if you go where I think you want to go. We'll see. With that being said on that recruiting update, Deshaun McBride, Charleston Collins, Wardell Mack, Tylen Singleton, Trey-Dez Moore, Dom McKinley. Guys, if you get those dudes right there, Joel Roberts, you get those dudes, you're cooking with grease. Trey'Dez Green is a freak of nature. He literally is an Eric Gilbert without the baggage. Okay. Tyler Singleton, amazing stud. Charleston Collins, another dude. LSU's always going to be recruiting at a level that they need to recruit at. Now, if they get in the top 3, a lot of people are going to owe Brian Kelly an apology. They're going to owe Brian Kelly a massive apology. He doesn't like to recruit. He doesn't put good recruiters around him. You better be careful what you wish for, because so many times we think about Les, and there's other dudes out here that all they do is want to talk about Les and Ed. I get it. I get why you want to talk about those dudes. Brian Kelly is not that guy, man. He's not that guy. You know what he wants, and he knows what he's got to do to get what he wants. He's got to recruit at a high level to get dudes here that they can not only be as talented as Harold Perkins, but be in a situation where they can compete with Alabama and others. Guys, 2024, you're making a playoff. If you're not making one this year. Now, I know that LSU sits high already in these recruiting rankings, but as the summer continues, as it gets hotter outside and kids start committing, we'll see. Can you maintain, can you lock down that number, a top 3 spot? I think that you can. I think LSU's going in a direction where they can, and that's where you win it. If you can get a Don McKinley, if you can get a Charleston Collins, if you can get a Wardell Mack, if you can get a Deshaun McBride, guys, then you're in a Joel Roberts. You're in a spot where you start feeling really good about the era of Brian Kelly. Not only are they winning massive games on the field, but they're doing so well in recruiting that it just makes you feel overall better about your program. And I think that that's coming. Actually, I don't think that it's coming. I know that it's coming. That's what she said. On this D-line coaching search, it's going to be interesting. Things are a little quiet. Not a lot to talk about. Brian Kelly said that he's going to wait a couple weeks. He's going to make the right decision for himself and this team and his players and the recruits, et cetera, et cetera. I'm going to call a little BS on that. Call little BS. Is he telling the truth? Yeah, he's telling the truth. It's going to probably take a couple weeks. Does he have a target in mind and LSU is gearing up for what they need to do to get that guy out of there? Maybe. You mean to tell me that after Scott Woodward just got the first taste of a national title in women's basketball, that Brian Kelly goes to him and says, I really want to go get him. Can we fight this fight? Can we fight this war? Scott says, yeah, we can fight this battle. We can fight this war. Really interesting on some of the things you hear what LSU's trying to gear up to do. Now, you're late in the process. Do some of these defensive coaches want to leave? Does a D-line coach want to leave after spring? You know, who knows? Who knows what they're thinking at the current moment? But I'm going to tell you something that hasn't been talked about by myself and others. I'm pretty sure LSU's gearing up to do what they need to do to go get not just a good, but an elite D-line coach. Matt House talked about it this week. What did Matt House say about the defensive line? He's not wrong. They do got to get better. But he talked about this being a line of scrimmage league. And I think if there's anybody on the current staff of coaches, not named Brian Polian, that has Brian Kelly's ear more than anybody, it's Matt House. And what did Matt House just tell us literally yesterday? That it's a line of scrimmage league. We got to win up front. We got to recruit better there, et cetera, et cetera. I've been around this game too long not to know when a coach says something, right? When a coach says something, when you got Brian Kelly running out there, you have Matt House running out there, you got all of these Rudy Poos, not Rudy Poos, you get what I'm saying? You got all these dudes running out there, and they're talking about recruiting at a high level defensively. We'll see. All right, let's do this. Let's get over to our good friend Chris Phillips. We talked about him. I told you where he's from. You can follow him on Twitter at the Spurs Up Show. Let's talk some more South Carolina LSU. Massive, and I mean massive, baseball weekend between LSU and South Carolina Gamecocks. So how about our good friends over at the Drake Williams Law Firm, drakewilliamslawfirm.com. Guys, we're back in 1 minute. Chris Phillips, next.
By the Drake Williams Law Firm, drakewilliamslawfirm.com. Whether you've been injured in an accident, you're preparing for a future with your estate planning, you're getting ready to close in on a real estate deal, or you're about to welcome a new addition through adoption into your family, or you're facing criminal charges, you need very experienced attorneys, and that is what the Drake Williams Law Firm will be able to do for you in navigating the legal system. The door to their cozy office in historic downtown Ponchatoula has been open since 1981. They have helped thousands and thousands of Louisiana families and individuals win cases, close on real estate deals, and regain that peace of mind. Their lawyers over at the Drake Williams Law Firm, Ernie Drake III, Ryan J. Williams, and Summer Vignair, are very determined, compassionate, and dedicated to their craft. It's the Drake Williams Law Firm, drakewilliamslawfirm.com. Give them a call today at 985-386-7600. Tell them your good friend Blake Ruffino at AYS sent you on by.
All right, we're joined here by Chris Phillips with the Spurs Up podcast. Chris, I got to ask you one question before we get rolling. First off, how are you tonight? But secondly, where can I get the big cock hat that you had the other night on your show?
It's this guy right here, actually. I got it on.
Look at the Big Cock Club.
Yeah.
You got to love it.
Yeah, I always tell people, Blake, I always tell people, if you have to ask, you can't get in. But for you, my friend, we'll make it happen. No, for you, man, hey, we got it on our online store, actually, over at tsus.store, shameless plug, where you can find all of our merchandise. But, Blake, I was going to say, man, I'm doing great tonight. I'm having a very relaxing evening, especially since the fact that I don't have to step in the box tomorrow night and face Paul Skeens throwing 100 miles an hour. So I'm doing pretty well. I'm pretty calm here on this Wednesday night. How you guys doing?
Doing good. So, Chris, let's start off with that. So last night, shamelessly, as you know, I got to be honest. So listen, I don't tell a lot of people this, but I'll say it here. The Honeycutt kid from North Carolina, I am a massive fan of. Massive. I've talked to the kid. We've exchanged text messages back and forth. The kid is really good. He's a really good dude. So I was watching that game last night because I was really intrigued. Obviously, LSU is going to play South Carolina and Columbia this weekend. Eli Jones comes out into the 8th inning and strikes out the side. What can you tell us about that as a guy who's been a Thursday or game one starter? What do you think's going on with Eli Jones and this rotation for South Carolina at the current moment?
Yeah, well, when you look at the record and the overall, layout of this ball club right now, just what they've done, Blake, it's fascinating, really, that storyline. Will Sanders returns to the rotation this weekend. He'll get the ball, get the start tomorrow night in game one. And he was sort of looked at, right, the preseason All-Everything, All-American, sort of like Paul Skeens for South Carolina, right, a big right-hander, fireballer, if you will, can run the fastball up there 96, 97, but it's just kind of struggled. Hasn't really been sharp. Didn't pitch all summer or fall of last year, and I think he just looked to be a bit rusty at this point in the season. So wanted to switch things up. They gave him the weekend off, and Eli Jones, who had been a midweek guy and a bullpen guy up until this point, had pitched well, but just a midweek guy, got the opportunity last Thursday, and I thought he was fantastic, at Mississippi State, and looked composed, looked calm, which I think is the big thing. Obviously, you go to an SEC school, Blake, you got good stuff, but the composure that he showed and the moxie and overall – I just thought he embraced the moment. And again, the stuff was good. He located, looked calm, and did a great job for you. So he pitches in that game last night. I would expect to see him out of the bullpen this weekend unless Noah Hall, the Gamecocks' normal game 2 starter, unless he cannot go on Saturday, which if they get the game in, we'll see. I think the weather's obviously a big storyline this weekend, but If Noah Hall can't go, I think Eli Jones is probably the next man up in regards to getting in that starting rotation. And certainly he should be with the job he did in Starkville. But, yeah, he's got a bright future, man. I mean, he's a young kid. I think only his second year in the program. And, runs the fastball 93, 94. A lot of movement, though. Eli Jones is sort of like James Hicks, where it's just like everything moves, everything dances in the strike zone. They do a really good break stuff. Yeah, it's good. It's filthy. It plays for sure. So he misses barrels, man. That's what it comes down to. He might not have the most electric stuff on that staff, if you will, but he just flat out misses barrels and he pitches with confidence. And, that can win in the SEC and that can win you a lot of ball games. So I think Eli Jones is certainly, and this pitching staff, is really, Blake, I say it's the calling card, but it's funny. You look at the offensive stats, you look at the home runs, and I think that's what everybody wants to talk about with South Carolina. But coming into the season, it was the immense amounts of pitching depth, the embarrassment of riches, if you're on the bump. The Gamecocks were hanging their hat on, and sure enough, Blake, this, when you have the pitching depth and you got guys who are confidently swinging the stick and you're getting hot at the plate, that's why you're 27-3 and 8-1 SEC play. So this weekend is going to be a lot of fun, man. It's good on good, as they like to say in football. That's exactly what we have this weekend.
I'll ask you about the weather last, because everybody wants to know everything in between before the weather is told.
Right.
Are you surprised that South Carolina is doing so good with the injuries that they have? Now, you mentioned Noah Hall maybe being the game 2 guy, but are you surprised that South Carolina is 27-3, 18-0 at home, 8-1 in the conference, with some of the really bad injuries that they've had to overcome so far this year?
Well, Blake, when you think back to last year, they really haven't been as snake bitten as they were a season ago, where it just felt like every top pitcher suffered an injury. I mean, they were really scraping bottom of the barrel to find guys to contribute on the bump. So in comparison to last year, they're pretty healthy. Now, obviously, you think about Carson Hornung, Will McGillis, those are some of your bigger sticks that are out right now due to injury. Nothing too long-term. They'll be back in plenty of time for the postseason, stuff like that. But they are contributors that are out right now. Jacob Compton, the Memphis transfer, he hasn't played all year, and that's something Kingston mentioned today, that, a red shirt may potentially be in his future. And then you talk about kind of the Noah Hall stuff right now, and I guess he's been dealing with this back thing all year long, and that really speaks to the competitor he is and just his toughness, if you will. But so, I'll just say this, whether it be injuries or not, you want to factor them in, you don't want to factor them in. Am I surprised that South Carolina's 27-3 and 8-1 in SEC play? I think if you're a Gamecock fan and you say no, Blake, you'd be lying to yourself. I really felt like this team, I really felt like with the pitching depth, this team was going to be a lot better. But I'll tell you this, Blake, just to be transparent, my preseason prediction for the Gamecocks was 34-22 and 15-15 in SEC play. And you've got 27 wins through 30 games. So I don't think anybody saw this coming to this level. I felt like this team had a great chance to be much improved with the addition of Monty Lee on the coaching staff, coming over from the arch rival as an assistant, now your hitting coach. There's obviously been a change in philosophy. We see that every single time the Gamecocks take the field. And then also the way Mark Kingston flipped this roster. LSU is very familiar with the transfer portal and how beneficial it can be. The Gamecocks did the same thing, man. I mean, you look, I think over half of their home runs have come from guys that were not on the roster a season ago. Again, you couple that with you're much healthier than you were this time last year. You got a bunch of guys also that were freshmen last year that were thrust in the fire. They're now sophomores making big contributions. I'm talking about the Hornungs, the Messinas, who's been a big-time guy right in the middle of the lineup, the LeCroys, if you will. So, I'm not surprised this team is vastly improved. But to be 27-3, 8-1, and to be 6th overall in the country right now in the rankings, I don't know that I thought it'd be quite that good, but it's been a fun ride, man. This is a team that I knew was immensely talented, and I said it all preseason. If they don't win, it's not because of a lack of talent; it's something else. And we all knew about one of the big storylines is Mark Kingston, his job status, and kind of be on the hot seat, if you will, because the expectations at South Carolina are what they are. But again, long story short, I'm a bit surprised at how good it is, but I'm not surprised, Blake, that this team is good. No, I'm not. This team has talent, and again, you combine that pitching depth with a hot lineup. And then again, Ethan Petrie, who I haven't even mentioned, maybe the best freshman in all of college baseball, been a pleasant surprise. But you couple those things together and, you get 27-3 and 8-1 in SEC play.
Yeah. So let's go on the offensive side of things. Chris, I don't know if you heard earlier, but at a Petrie, Wimmer, Cassis, I think is how you pronounce his last name. Yeah. Cassis and Cole Messina, who plays a pretty decent infield and first base. Their combined batting average is 350. Chris, they have 46 home runs, 142 RBIs. That is the most dangerous front four that I think LSU will see all year. Offensively, y'all lead the country in home runs. Let me ask this, because I saw you tweet something today or last night, I don't remember, and I thought it was funny because we have not seen, as LSU fans, Paul Skeens enough to really be like, oh, yeah, you got Paul Skeens. You know, sometimes when you get a new player, it takes a little while, a.k.a. Joe Burrow. But nevertheless, you tweeted out like, hey, guys, we're going up against Paul Skeens. But this lineup, this front four is the best that he's going to see all year, in my personal opinion, or at least that he's seen so far. What have you seen from the front four of this South Carolina Gamecock offense?
I mean, they're lethal. It reminds you of the old school Ray Tanner days when they had the murderer's row of Smoke, Disher, Darnell, and Havens. I don't know if you recall them, but
it was ridiculous.
The most talented teams. I would say the most talented teams in South Carolina history to not win a national championship, to not even get to Omaha. By the way, that really speaks to the troubles they had in the bullpen and the pitching staff, if you will. But it really does remind you of just the old school days of those Ray Tanner teams that. I've had a bunch of guys on my show and talked to a bunch of guys and have relationships with a bunch of guys that played for Ray Tanner. And, they said old school Ray would tell you that singles clog the bases. Let's hit home runs. Let's hit it over the fence. You know what I mean? Like, if you got the 2-0, you'd look down there at third base or the dugout or whatever, and he'd just look at you and he'd just point. Like, that's the green light. Like, let's go. Let's go. We need a bomb. You know what I mean? So, It's in, Mark Kingston's mentioned it too. It's in the culture. It's woven into the fabric of South Carolina baseball, sort of like LSU, right? Like power. Like power is, I think you guys, don't you call it the power factory? I think that's LSU baseball. I could be mistaken.
Yeah, that or gorilla ball is what they go.
Right.
Gorilla,
so,
gorilla ball.
Right. Yeah. So it's just one of those things. And you look at, again, you mentioned, Petrie's just been incredible. I mean, he is on. I compare him to either a Grayson Griner or a Christian Walker as a true freshman. I mean, he's having that type of campaign, and maybe even better, I would say, at this point in his South Carolina career. He's just seeing a beach ball right now. I think Cole Messina has sort of turned into the heartbeat of this ball club, and really that leader, if you're that emotional leader, every time I watch this ball club, he's making something happen. He's yelling at the dugout in a positive way, obviously, and leading this group. And I think it's a great thing to have, especially from your catcher, right? You need that guy. Gavin Cassis, I mean, what a roll of the dice that has paid off immensely for Mark Kingston and company. A guy that really didn't play all that much at Vanderbilt, but he's got those ties, right? His brother's playing for the Boston Red Sox, and you got that pedigree. And I mean, dude, he's
second in the league in home runs.
Right, he's a perfect fit at Founders Park. That park is built for big time left-hand hitters. Like Justin Smoke probably would have hit 50 in a season had he played there. I mean, the wind blows off that river left to right, blows out in the right field. And if it really gets gusting, man, you can just pepper balls over that right field fence. So it's been a lot of fun to watch, man. I mean, again, it's really been a return of power. But the good news has been this, Blake, that we've seen power in the Mark Kingston era, but it's always felt like it was coupled with feast or famine. I think this year what you're seeing is even when the home run's not there, they're being much more productive. But obviously the numbers, Blake, speak to it. And this team is at its best when it's hitting home runs, and thankfully that has happened a lot this season.
Well, with Ethan Petrie, now that you say that it goes from from left into right field, I mean, he's hitting nukes out in left, so that just shows you how strong that kid is. All right, one more question before I got to talk to you about Beamer ball. One more question. How do you see this weekend playing out? Now, you talked about the weather earlier. I want you to factor that in your answer. I guess give us an update on that and what's going on in South Carolina. And then, two, how do you see this weekend playing out?
So as we all know, right, they've got 3 days to play 3 games. They can't play on Sunday, which I don't really understand. I don't think anybody really understands, but it's the SEC rule. And I hate to talk about the weather because I hate to think about the fact they may not get 3 games in this weekend. It'd be a damn shame. And unfortunately, I think the Rowdy Roosters which is what we call the best hecklers in all of college baseball, if you will. I think they'll show up. They'll be loud. They'll be proud tomorrow night. How does it affect the atmosphere, though? I think if you're an LSU fan, you got to really like that maybe we're not going to get the rowdiest environment, at least in games 2 and 3. Because realistically, Blake, I think if they're going to get it in, they're probably going to have to play that doubleheader on Friday and just try to get as much baseball in as possible because Saturday looks like a complete wash. I mean, 100% chance of rain. And, I know weathermen have missed before, but my God, if you miss on this one, find a new line of work, my friend. They ought to cut his ass, man. I'm just telling you right now, they ought to cut his ass. The guy calling the weather for this series, The guy calling the weather for the Masters, he ought to be gone because it's got to be the same jabroni. You know what I mean? So,
Oh, no doubt.
It looks like to me they'll probably have to play 2 on Friday. But let's just assume they get all 3 in, right? I want to operate that way and be optimistic. LSU hasn't swept anybody this year. I was taking a look, and that kind of surprised me, right? As good as they are, 6-3 in conference play, and it looks like to me it's been game 3s that they've struggled in, giving them trouble. I think all 3 series they've lost game 3, so they haven't gone to a rubber match yet. I've seen some LSU fans on social media kind of chirping about, Sundays are our kryptonite, and what are we going to do about our Sunday starter? Our Sunday starter's keeping us from an Omaha run. There's a lot of SEC teams, though, I'll say, that have issues with the Sunday roll.
Pause for just a second. Pause for just a second for a round of applause. Thank you. Continue.
Yeah. No, there's a lot of SEC teams though that battle that. And that's, I think, something that gives the Gamecocks the upper hand is that they've got 3 studs you can roll out there in the weekend rotation. Unfortunately, here's my questions with Carolina. What's the status of Noah Hall? How is Will Sanders going to pitch after a week off against Paul Skeens? And I understand to your point, Blake, that we haven't seen enough of him. And I think what you can do is you can fall in a dangerous trap. And I'm sure you're familiar with this. Like when teams play Alabama in football, they lose before they even play to them. They lose to the logo. They lose to the tradition. They lose to the history because they put them on this pedestal and they make them out to be something even more than what they already are. So a guy like Paul Skeens, and I'm sure the Gamecocks hitters aren't doing this, but the last thing you want to do is be sitting here tonight and being like, oh, man, like watching all his highlights. He throws 100. I don't know how we're going to hit him. Like, you got to go out there and believe, like, he ain't shit. We're going to rock it. You got to have that confidence. And I think Carolina will. I think it's going to be probably the series of the year in college baseball. I think it's 2 great teams. I love the attitude I'm seeing from South Carolina. They're good. We're good. Let's go play. That should be the attitude, right? You embrace the gauntlet of the SEC. You embrace playing best on best. With that being said, and oh, by the way, you factor in LSU's lineup, Tommy Tanks, Dylan Cruz, Gavin Dugas. It's funny, I was doing my preview of the series before we jumped on, and I didn't even mention, like, Trey Morgan, who's a stud. He's a stud. He's at like 340. No big deal. I think LSU, I think it's back and forth. I think if they get 3 games in, I think the Tigers have one more punch than South Carolina, even though the series is at Founders Park. I think LSU benefits from probably not having to get the worst of Founders, if you will. So I've got LSU taking 2 out of 3. I know Gamecock fans will hate me for it, but I've always been known to give an honest opinion, an honest take, an honest pick, Blake. And so I'm going with LSU 2 of 3. But I think South Carolina, because there's been a lot of questions about their schedule, who they've played, whatever. I think the Gamecocks, even in losing 2 of 3, will show they're for real this weekend. Like, I think they're going to go toe-to-toe with the best team in college baseball. I mean, listen, if you beat Paul Skeens, all bets are off. Hey, all bets are off. But right now, South Carolina, if there's one thing offensively they've been susceptible to, it's the strikeout. And damn it, Paul Skeens has got a lot of them. And I mean, his numbers, his spread, what is it, like 88 strikeouts to, or 83 strikeouts to 8 walks? I mean, not only does he throw 100, but he spots it. He spots it.
Right.
Like, that's insane. So, I think if you're Carolina tomorrow night, the goal just has to be, hey, get your hacks off for sure. I mean, if you want to let your best guys, your Casses, your Petries, your Messinas, go up there, you get ahead in the count, sit that fastball, just pull the trigger and pray to God you run into it because it may not land if you do that. But shorten up, find a way, be productive. And Will Sanders has to be electric because you might have to win 1-0, 2-1, 3-2. Welcome to game 1 in the SEC. So it's going to be an electric weekend, but I'm going to roll with LSU right now, 2 of 3 in the series.
Austin Greer on YouTube says Chris picking against SC worked well for him last night too. So I did see that.
A lot of Gamecock fans will rejoice because they think I'm the kiss of death. So it'll, they think it'll go. They're like, thank God he didn't pick us to take the series because now it's guaranteed the Yardcocks are going to get it done. So hey, whatever I can do to help the Gamecocks, I'm all for it.
All right, so I got to ask you about Beamer Ball. How's it going this spring?
It's going fantastic. I mean, I think in the spring, Blake, you can probably agree that, no news is good news for the most part. I mean, the last thing you want to hear is something big happened because normally it's something bad, right? Like somebody got hurt, something unexpected. Heck, I don't know. Somebody got in trouble. We've seen that already earlier in this year from South Carolina. But, no, things are going well, man. Spring game is next weekend. I mean, it's never a bad time, obviously, to talk SEC football, but spring game next weekend, just kind of trying to figure out, not to sound like a coach, but trying to figure out who we got and who's going to contribute. And, and who's not, if you will. But, I mean, all accounts, man, spring ball is going well. I mean, Shane Beamer and company, they're keeping up the momentum in recruiting. They just had a Florida State DN, which edge is a position they need to bolster. They had a kid visiting today. I think the portal opens May 1st. And I think
from
you're
Florida
see them
State, correct?
Yeah. You're going to see them be very active, I think, in the portal, which, I mean, Shane Beamer's got a reputation now. He's obviously going to attack it. But they're going to be active, and I think getting an edge and a running back. But, I think spring is going really well based off what Shane Beamer said. I'm excited for the spring game, and it'll be a great one, night spring game yet again. But, I mean, there's plenty of momentum, man, right now around Beamer ball. And, you come off a season like they did, man, and beat Tennessee. And Clem sucks, as we call them on my show. You beat those two teams to end the season. I mean, you close out a season the way they did, man, in improbable fashion. And the hype train is full steam ahead, my friend. I can guarantee you that. But I guess if the Gamecocks need any sort of inspiration of why can't we win the SEC East, I mean, did anybody pick LSU to win the West last year? Hey, crazy things happen. You never know. I'm not trying to set unrealistic expectations, but I'm just saying, you never know. So,
Yeah, I mean, look, let's call it what it is. I will be honest. I did not. Okay, like I did not have LSU winning the West. I mean, because look, it's Bama. They got Bryce Young and Will Anderson. So no, I didn't. But Brian Kelly proved a lot of people wrong. Last question.
Go ahead. I was going to say Brian Kelly must have gotten a lot of support from his family. That's what happened. It worked out.
Yeah,
I know that joke. I know that joke's so old. I apologize.
Man, can I tell you something? Because look, people, and I don't mean this in a cocky way. Okay, you have a lot of followers on Twitter. We got a lot of followers on Twitter, Facebook, etc. The amount of it's like this Angel Reese thing in a way. Like I am so tired of having to talk about the family thing. It's such a point. I actually, how you can like unsearch words, or if no words come up on your feed. Family was the number one word for like 2 months.
To win some favor with the LSU folks, I was pro the trash talk, so I'm all for it. It's so funny. I'll just say, quote unquote, media. I don't put myself really in the media box, but I think we as just sports fans, like we complain that these athletes are robots and they're just giving pre-canned answers, and then when they do finally show emotion, it's like it's classless. Like, bro, just let them talk. Let them talk trash. If you don't like somebody doing this in your face, well, then don't let them beat you. I mean, I don't know what else to say. Right. What did T.O. used to say? If you don't like me dancing in the end zone, don't let me score. It's as simple as that.
It's true. So Spencer Rattler, the last question I got for you tonight. Spencer Rattler, look, the last, let's just call it month of the season, he turned it on. He looked really good. A lot of people who written him off couldn't write him off anymore. New offensive coordinator, Freddie Kitchens is in town now. I guess, how do you see that offense rolling? Can they do what they did last year? Can they take down and slay the giant?
Yeah. I think that's the big question, Blake, is which Spencer Rattler do we see more of, right? The one we saw in the final 2 games of the season or the first 10 games, right? Where Spencer Rattler, what's crazy, right, Blake? A lot of people miss this. He threw more touchdowns, 6. He had 6 touchdown passes in that Tennessee game. That was more than he threw in the entire month of October. I mean, that's how badly the season had gone. At one point, he was 5 touchdowns to 9 interceptions, right? So, I think that's the big question, is just consistency for Rattler. It's in there. He's got the talent. He's got the capability. It's just, will he be more consistent? Obviously, you got Dowell Loggins coming in. He's an unproven commodity to a degree. That was a very highly debated topic, especially by yours truly. I wasn't exactly thrilled with the hire, right? A guy whose track record or resume in the NFL was, just call it for what it is, as porous as it was. But Shane Beamer believes in him. And I think the big question, did Shane Beamer and company learn from last year? Because when they dumbed it down and when they scaled back and they removed the 15-word play calls and they just said, go play ball, things worked out well. Now, is that going to work out well enough to win 9, 10, 11 games? I have no idea, but it's going to be a lot more fun to watch in the process. So I think the offense will be better, Blake, to answer your question. I think Spencer Rattler will be better. This is his money year. He's done going to the NFL draft. This one, he's got his favorite target back in Juice Wells, who emerged. I think you could argue he's the best returning pass catcher in the SEC. They loaded up at the tight end position. Nicholas Harbor comes in, by the way, who is like the fastest man alive, basically.
Yeah, that was an outright steal. That kid's going to play day one, game one. Yeah. It was an outright steal.
Yeah, and Beamer said he's going to play wide receiver. So Spencer Rattler is going to have weapons at his disposal. And I also, Blake, don't think the Gamecocks, I don't think they're going to be built to run the ball for 200 yards a game. So I think a lot of it's going to fall on Rattler. I think they will be improved offensively. I don't think it'll be nearly as dreadful to watch as it was at times. How much better? That's the question. I think what it comes down to for Rattler is just purely consistency. Excuse me. And again, he's got all the potential. He's got all the talent. We saw it the last 2 games. Can he do it on a consistent basis? And can he protect the football? He was miserable at that a season ago. Got to be better than that. If he can do that, there's no reason why I think Spencer Rattler couldn't be, dare I say, an all-conference quarterback at season's end.
All right, people keep asking me to ask you this question. They said, Brandon Reese says, hashtag Ask Blake, can you ask Chris how he feels about Oklahoma and Texas coming into the SEC?
I love it. I love it, man. As a content creator of an SEC team and somebody who loves the league, why would you not love it, right? You're bringing in 2 behemoths in the college sports world, and Oklahoma and Texas. And you think about the matchups. I think everybody goes straight to football and they think about that. What about baseball, man? We're talking about baseball. Horns down. Am I right? I can't wait for it. I'm excited. I'm pumped. I'm ecstatic. I think that, like Beamer said, man, you just got to embrace the competition and run towards it. And, we're getting closer, man, towards, mega conferences, 2 or 3 big ones. But
I agree.
It's good to be invited and in the party if you're there. So I think for LSU, South Carolina, and the rest of us, why not join the party and, best on best. And it just makes it tougher. But, that's the pressure's there. It's always there. So it'll be a lot of fun to watch.
Hey, as I told, I'm not gonna say it, I'm married, but as I will say this very quietly, I ain't gotta go home with the hottest girl at the party, but I'm gonna go home with a honey. You know what I'm saying? All right, it's Chris Phillips, the Spurs Up podcast, Spurs Up show. Hey man, tell everybody where they can find your stuff, and if you don't mind, send me the link to your shop. I want to get one of them hats, man.
Dude, yeah, no, I got you. I'll definitely hook you up with the merch. For sure. But, yeah, we're at the Spurs Up Show, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, even TikTok. We're all over social media. The podcast drops Monday, Thursday at 5 a.m., by the way, for our early birds. But Monday, Thursday when the podcast drops, iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, everywhere you get your podcast. And then we do a daily live show, which is called The Daily Crow, no pun intended, Monday through Friday, noon to 2, which airs on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch. And we take questions, comments, calls. So if any LSU folks, y'all want to call in tomorrow, talk some baseball, would love to have it. Always love when the rival fans call in. Again, we do merchandise, we do events, we do a little bit of everything, man. But just look up the Spurs Up Show anywhere. We got a website too, thespursupshow.com. But look up the Spurs Up Show anywhere, and you'll find us. And I'll definitely get you that hat, by the way, man. I need to
yes.
We need to have you rocking a big Cotton Club hat for sure, my friend.
No doubt. I'll wear it with pride. I promise you. All right. That's Chris Phillips. Thank you so much, man.
I love it.
Thank you so much.
Blake, I appreciate you, man. Appreciate y'all having me.
All right. That's Chris Phillips. Fantastic, dude. Fantastic. All we do here is bring on great guests. All we do here is bring on great guests. And he was one of them. Let's get to our final break of the show. Let's talk about our good friend Carol Foss over at State Farm. That's Carol Foss over at State Farm. We're back in 45 seconds.
Guys, you might know my good friend Carol Foss and all the great service that he provides over at State Farm. He is your good neighbor after all. But did you know State Farm has surprisingly great rates as well? Along with the great neighbor service, State Farm agent Carol Foss has surprisingly great rates for everyone inside the state of Louisiana. So call him today at 985-395-4300, 985-395-4300 for all of those surprisingly great rates on auto, home, and life insurance needs. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there, and individual premiums will vary by customer. All applicants subject to the State Farm underwriting requirements.
All right, to close out the show, we'll go around your SEC. Vanderbilt takes on Missouri tomorrow. LSU, as we just talked about, has number 6, but some polls have them number 3. South Carolina. Mississippi State takes on Alabama. Arkansas goes to Ole Miss. Florida, what an electric series this is going to be. Florida goes to Tennessee, and Texas A&M will have Auburn. So really good weekend of some baseball as well. Looking forward to it. Adam B says, when I hear anyone say family, I immediately get nauseous. I do as well. How played out was that crap, right? Very played out. All right. We'll see y'all tomorrow. Y'all have a good night. Peace out, Girl Scouts.